My name is Donald Trump. I was born in 1946. Yes, right after the big war, in a country that already knew this much. If you're loud, rich, and confident, you've got a shot. And if you're also brazen, that shot doubles. Now I'm going to show you my life. You definitely haven't seen anything like this before. Get comfortable. It's going to be interesting. I wasn't born in a basement or a trailer. I'll say that honestly right away, so there are no surprises later. I was born into a developer's family, into the family of a man who built houses, sold houses, tore houses down, and built them again. There really could have been a gold spoon in my cradle. Not metaphorically, almost literally. If that had been the custom back then, it would definitely have been monetized. My father wasn't a romantic. He didn't say, follow your dream. He said, oh, how much does it cost? And, by the way, that's far more useful. In our family, money wasn't discussed in whispers. Money was discussed out loud, loudly, and with a calculator. From an early age, I understood. If you want respect, first learn how to count. An interesting detail. I'm a descendant of German immigrants. Yes, surprise. People would later say, how can that be? You criticize migration, and yet... Well, first, my ancestors came legally. Second, they worked. Third, they didn't demand that the rules be rewritten around them. They simply integrated and won. Very German, to be honest. So yes, I grew up in an immigrant family. Just the kind of immigrants who built the country instead of explaining why the country owed them something. Awkward? Maybe. Ironic? Definitely. But facts are stubborn things. And I like facts. From childhood, I knew the world was divided into two kinds of people. Those who wait for a chance to be given to them, and those who take that chance, and then send the bill. I never liked waiting. Waiting is for weak balance sheets. No one told me bedtime fairy tales. I was told stories about deals. About who went broke, who got scared, who exited on time, and who trusted experts for too long. So if you think I turned out this way by accident, no, it was deliberate construction. The foundation was poured early. I grew up with the sense that losing isn't a tragedy. The real tragedy is being small, invisible, and convenient. And being convenient means being forgotten. I had no plans to be forgotten. I never did. So if you were expecting a story about a boy from poverty, sorry. This is a story about a boy with opportunities who decided to use them as loudly as possible. And believe me, the most interesting part is only beginning. In our family, love was expressed simply. You were given a chance, and then they watched to see if you survived. If you did, everything was fine. If you didn't, you weren't fit for the family business. Sentimentality was considered an expense. My father didn't say, I love you. He said, are you sure about this deal? And if you started hesitating, the conversation was over. I learned that early on. Emotions are for people without assets. And we had assets. At 5, I was sent to Q Forest School in Queens, an ordinary private school for not-so-ordinary kids. There, I became friends with Peter Brandt, the son of another businessman. We hit it off quickly. Both of us felt far more at home outside the classroom than at a desk. Sports, competition, noise, that was my element. We played everything, rooted for the Brooklyn Dodgers, and had absolutely no intention of being model students. In the summers, the family went to Florida and stayed at the Fontainebleau Hotel. Some people go on vacation to relax. I went to get used to a beautiful life. A very useful skill, by the way. It keeps you from getting distracted later. At school, I quickly earned a reputation as a troublemaker. Sometimes too energetic. So energetic that at 13, my parents decided it was time to do something about it. They sent me to the New York Military Academy.
Come join us.
Not because I was bad, but because I was too confident. And you know what? It worked. There I learned discipline, but not submission. I played football and baseball, became a team captain. I did well in geometry. I always liked numbers. Girls paid attention too, which earned me the nickname Ladies' Man. I didn't really have close friends though, but I did have a baseball coach. A man who understood that if a kid has a lot of energy, you don't break it. You direct it. In the summers, I didn't hang out. I traveled with my father to construction sites. I watched foundations being poured, budgets being calculated, decisions being made. I saw buildings emerge from dirt and blueprints. And I understood one simple thing. This is real cinema. Although, by the way, when I was young, I dreamed of something completely different. I wanted to go into film. Yes, seriously. I thought about film school, but then I decided, applause is nice, but real estate is more profitable. And I chose money. I've never regretted it. I started at Fordham University, but quickly realized it wasn't my scale. So I transferred to the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania, one of the most prestigious in the country. I graduated and went straight home. Not to rest, to work. That's how there emerged not a future actor and not a socialite, but a man who understood the main thing. If you want to control the stage, own the building it stands in. When I arrived in New York, it wasn't the glossy movie version. It was a tired city. Manhattan in the 70s, dirty, dangerous, full of empty buildings, and a constant sense that the best days were already gone. Banks were scared, investors were hiding, and experts kept saying, better stay away. I looked at all of that and said, great, that means it's cheap. My father's family business was simple and reliable. Low-cost development, steady income, minimal risk. A working model. But it felt cramped to me. I quickly realized that real money isn't in square footage. It's in status. People don't pay for walls. People pay for the feeling that they're above others. And that's exactly what I decided to build. I changed the model. Abruptly. From cheap construction to luxury. From just housing to a symbol. From anonymous buildings to structures with personality.
With a vision,
now here's the most interesting part. How I made my first billion. The model wasn't romantic or elegant. It was aggressive and calculated. First, I almost never built with my own money. I entered projects with minimal equity and maximum leverage. Banks weren't lending against buildings. They were lending against the idea, the scale, and my name. If a project looked too big to fail, the financing appeared. Second, I took on distressed properties. Not new, not trendy, but the ones everyone else had walked away from. Old hotels, unfinished projects, money-losing buildings. They could be bought cheaply because they had bad reputations. I was buying reputation and changing it. That's the cheapest upgrade in business. Third, tax breaks and city subsidies. I came into New York not as a petitioner, but as a savior. The city was in crisis, and I offered deals. You give me tax abatements, I bring life back to the area. That's how projects like the renovation of the Grand Hyatt near the train station were financed. Without that deal, I wouldn't have had access to major banks. Fourth, scale from day one. I didn't grow gradually. I skipped steps. The clearest example is Trump Tower. It wasn't just a skyscraper, it was a brand showcase. I invested in luxury very deliberately. Marble, gold, glass. Apartment prices were above market precisely because they were above market. People weren't buying housing, they were buying belonging. Fifth, monetizing the name. After the first high-profile projects, I started making money not just from construction. I licensed my last name. Hotels, residences, casinos. In many cases, I didn't build them myself. I sold the right to use the name. Almost pure margin. Minimal investment, maximum effect. Sixth, reinvestment and debt. I didn't take money out. Everything that was earned went into new projects. Debt grew along with assets. As long as assets grew faster, the system worked. That's how the first billion on paper appeared by the late 80s. Real estate, licenses, casinos, brand value. In short, I used other people's money, bought other people's problems, sold status, and turned my last name into a financial instrument. It wasn't a neat business. It was a business on the edge. But that's how big fortunes are made in New York. Slowly, only tenants make money there. I wanted to be the owner.
Are you sure?
Now another great chapter. Bankruptcy.
Sure. Final word.
Then they explained to me that I was finished. The newspapers, the banks, the experts. Experts especially love bearing the living. It's safer than admitting they were wrong. Late 80s, early 90s. I was overloaded with debt. Too much growth, too many projects, too much borrowed money. Casinos in Atlantic City, hotels, massive developments, all at once. The economy turned, interest rates rose, cash flow dropped. On paper, it looked like a disaster. They told me, "You won't survive." I said, "Let's see who gets tired first." There's one thing that matters here. I wasn't poor, I was in debt. Those are two very different situations. When an ordinary person goes bankrupt, it's a tragedy. When I go bankrupt, it's a reason to sit down at the negotiating table. Because my debts were so large that they became a problem not just for me. The banks were trapped. If they crushed me, they lost everything. If they gave me time, there was a chance to recover at least part of it. And I knew that. I didn't come asking. I came offering a choice. Either you're with me or we sink together. A very sobering formula. I started negotiating. Tough, long, unpleasant negotiations. I pushed, I bought time, I revised terms, I secured extensions, interest reductions, restructurings. I sold assets, but not the key ones. I kept control. This wasn't about saving a business. It was about survival. Most important, I didn't panic publicly. Inside, anything could be happening. Outside, Confidence. Because the moment you show fear, you've lost. Reputation became a weapon. If the market believes you're still standing, it gives you time. And time in a crisis is money. I lost part of my fortune. I lost control over some assets. But I kept the most important thing, the name. And in my business, the name mattered more than the balance sheet. A few years later, I was making money again. Not because everything was perfect, but because I held on.
Understood.
I learned a simple thing. If you don't panic, you're already winning. Everyone around you is waiting for you to break. And you just sit there, waiting for them to get tired. And usually, they do. In the early 1990s, I had more than $4 billion in debt, including about $900 million in personal obligations. I reached restructuring agreements with the banks. I secured extensions, lower interest rates, and retained control over key assets while selling secondary ones. By the mid-90s, I was profitable again and began earning not through leverage, but through brand licensing and new projects. Then I realized something else just as simple. America doesn't love modesty. America loves winners, even if they're loud, even if they're annoying, even if people get tired of them. Silence here isn't capital. It's background noise. Attention is capital. And if you're not collecting it, someone else will. Beautiful women? Of course. Success is also a form of aesthetics. I never pretended to live modestly. Why would I? People want to see victory. They want light, motion, the sense that everything is happening at full volume. I wasn't in show business. I just lived as if there were always a camera on me. And honestly, most of the time there was. After the bankruptcies, I had to rebuild not only the business, but the image. I chose the simplest path. Show confidence, even if inside it was calculation, not celebration. Magazines, parties, interviews, glossy spreads. All of it worked as a storefront. As long as you're visible, they don't bury you. Publicity isn't vanity. It's insurance. And then television appeared, The Apprentice. And that's where everything clicked. It wasn't just a show. It was a demonstration of my philosophy. Business as competition, pressure, decisions, responsibility. The camera loves simple things, and America loves clear formulas. And I gave it the main one. You're fired. That phrase became iconic, not because it was harsh, but because it was honest. People were tired of polite firings, empty promises, and blurred language. I said what people think in offices but don't say out loud. Television turned my management style into mass culture. Firing became entertainment, and I became the symbol of a person who makes decisions and doesn't apologize for them. Television had a very concrete effect. After the show, the value of my name as a brand skyrocketed. I started earning not from construction, but from licensing the name. Hotels, residential complexes, golf clubs, products, shows. In many projects, I didn't invest money at all. I sold the right to use the name. Minimal risk, high margin. It was a business not on assets, but on recognition. By the mid-2000s, I was a media star, name recognition almost total, constant presence in the news. I was at the peak, and that's exactly when I began stepping away from show business. Because I always knew, if you stay too long, they turn you into a caricature. I didn't leave because interest faded. I left while control was still mine. There are a lot of people in this world who confuse noise with risk. I never did. Noise can be used. Risk has to be avoided. I didn't go where the show started replacing decisions. I locked in the result and moved on. The cameras had done their job. They turned me into a figure the entire country knew. And then there was only one logical next step. Politics. When everyone knows you, when your name is a brand, when you know how to manage attention, the next level is power. Not as a show, as a new peak. I became a star, locked in the high point, and moved on to where the stakes are higher. I entered politics not because I wanted power. I entered because I saw a vacuum. A system where everyone says the right words, but no one takes responsibility. I came in as an outsider, and that irritated everyone immediately. Washington likes predictability. I was inconvenient, and inconvenient people are not welcome there. Almost right away, the main spectacle of my first term was launched, the so-called Russia Gate. I was accused of colluding with the Russians. Ridiculous. I had trouble making deals even with Americans, and here they were spinning an entire conspiracy theory. Newspapers, TV networks, leaks, anonymous sources. This wasn't an investigation. It was pressure through noise. They tried to corner me not with facts, but with repetition. Formally, it was handled by special counsel Robert Mueller's team. 2 years of investigations, hundreds of interviews, mountains of documents. The result, no evidence of collusion. Not insufficient evidence, not inconclusive. But exactly this, not established.
From the start.
Years later, it became even more interesting. Reviews showed that part of the accusations had been built on unverified data, leaks, and frankly, weak foundations. What was sold as a threat to democracy turned out to be a manufactured story that simply played well on television. But while all this was being sorted out, the pressure was intense. The media functioned as a political tool. Any decision was framed as a scandal, any pause as an admission of guilt. I quickly understood. Defending yourself is useless.
It's obstruction.
If you play their game, you've already lost. So I did what I do best. I moved forward and made decisions. One of the most painful moments was NATO. I said a simple thing. If you're allies, you have to pay. Not symbolically, but according to commitments. The reaction was genuine surprise. Apparently, they had grown used to getting it for free. In Brussels, it was taken as rudeness, in the press as a threat, and in practice as a signal that the rules were changing. After that, talk of 2% of GDP suddenly became real. My first term was not a period of comfort. It was a trial by fire. I tested the system's strength, and the system tested me. I was attacked, investigated, mocked, declared a temporary phenomenon. But it was precisely then that it became clear. I had disrupted the familiar order. And if they're trying so hard to push you out, it means you've hit the mark. I didn't become part of Washington. I became its problem. And that's why the first term wasn't the finale. It was preparation. Because that's when I understood the main thing. Resistance means you're changing something. Then I stepped into the shadows. But shadow doesn't mean absence. It's a position. I was no longer sitting in the Oval Office, but I kept watching, calmly, coldly. I saw the system lose momentum, decisions slow down, confidence evaporate. And most telling of all, I saw the country increasingly discussing not the future, but slips of the tongue. Biden was fighting me even when I wasn't in the White House. I wasn't president, yet I remained the main topic. I was blamed, debated, used to explain their own failures. It was convenient. When you're fighting a shadow, you don't have to answer for reality. I watched things come apart, not all at once, but slowly, at the seams. The economy lost momentum. Foreign policy lost clarity. Governance lost pace. I didn't rush, because in moments like that, the winner isn't the one who shouts, but the one who waits for the right moment. And I saw it. When it's already hard for one person to perform basic duties, and the other just needs to walk 10 meters without falling, the choice becomes obvious. They thought it was all over. And then I stepped back out, and it became clear this was only the beginning. The campaign turned into a marathon of pressure. Cases were opened against me. Court summons followed. They tried to bury me in paperwork, trap me in a legal maze. Accusations came one after another, as if quantity could replace quality. They tried to lock me up, not for actions, but for the mere fact of my existence. But nothing worked, because noise is not a verdict, and evidence is stubborn. I walked out of courtrooms not broken, but stronger. Every case only added supporters. Because people saw a simple picture. The system is playing dirty, meaning it has something to fear. I didn't justify myself. I kept moving. An assassination attempt? I've always said, my life isn't for the faint-hearted. When someone shoots at you, approval ratings rise faster. Cynical? Maybe. But politics isn't therapy, it's reality. The campaign against Harris was tough, direct, and without illusions. The contrast was obvious. One offers slogans, the other offers control. One talks about processes, the other about results. And at some point it became clear, these weren't just elections. It was a return. I won, I came out on top, and I took the presidential seat for the second time. Not as a surprise, but as the outcome of a long distance. Because if they tried to stop you with everything they had and failed, it means you did everything right. The world was in shock. I wasn't. By that point, I already had 4 years of preparation. The first term was reconnaissance by fire. I learned where the system slows down, where it sabotages, where it smiles and does nothing. The second time, I didn't come to learn. I came to govern. I rebuilt the team completely. No surprises, no random people, no recommended professionals. I put in my own, those who don't ask unnecessary questions and understand why they're here. When all the levers are in your hands, decisions are made quickly. And speed is power. I started again with what irritates everyone most, honesty. I said, I need Greenland. Not out of romance, not for the map, but for resources. Rare earth metals, control of logistics, pushing China out of a strategic region. This isn't exotic, it's calculation. Whoever controls resources sets the rules. Everything else is talk. Canada? Anything is possible. We'll wait and see how it plays out. Then Latin America. I stated the position clearly. The Western Hemisphere is a zone of American interests, period. With oil, everything is obvious. Either we control the process, or others move in. In that context, the story with Nicolas Maduro wasn't a show. It was a signal.
Look at this. It's
Diplomatic,
right
tough,
Coverage of
without
Russia
sentiment.
is absolutely the
Oil
worst.
isn't
We call it
ideology.
fake news.
It's
It is a
leverage.
tremendous
And I
problem.
like to keep leverage in my hands. And of course, tariffs. I love tariffs. They're my favorite tool. I introduced them not out of anger, but out of principle. Many countries got used to thinking they could rip off the United States, sell us more, pay less, hide behind rules. I closed that door. You want access to the market, pay the price. Don't want to, there's the door. That's not protectionism, that's defending interests. And it works. That's why globalists hate me. That's why partners fear me. But the results are there. Pressure increased, negotiations sped up, positions became clearer. I wasn't playing at friendship. I was playing for balance. I resolved 8 conflicts, without pathos, without slogans, without tweets about world peace. Just deals, compromises, pressure. They didn't give me the Nobel Peace Prize, of course. Must have misplaced my number. Instead, I received a symbolic award from a Venezuelan politician. An irony that was just perfect. A separate story is NATO and Europe. The pressure intensified. The split became visible. Russia continues to be the irritant that makes everyone argue with each other. I told Europe the truth again, about money, about security, about the fact that an alliance is not one-sided charity. You want security, pay for it. No? Then I wash my hands of it and you defend yourselves however you like. They were offended again. But being offended is one thing. Paying is another. And they started paying. We'll see how my term ends. I don't like guessing. History doesn't like people who pretend everything is under control. But one thing I know for sure, there are no simple tasks left. The hardest question remains, relations with Russia? Many thought it could be solved quickly, with pressure, sanctions, statements. It turned out not to be that simple. Too many interests, too much memory, too many mutual expectations. This isn't a conflict you can close with a press release. It requires a cool head, calculation, and an understanding of where posturing ends and reality begins. I've always said, you don't talk to the strong in slogans. With the strong, you negotiate, or you prepare for a long game. And there's one more factor that can't be ignored. China. China has become too big, too confident, too deeply embedded in everything from supply chains to technology and resources. It's no longer just a competitor. It's a system that wants to rewrite the rules. And when someone rewrites the rules without your consent, you have only 2 options: accept it or intervene. I'm not the kind who accepts things quietly. Something will have to be done about it.
Everyone agrees.
Not hysterically, not for show, but consistently. Economy, technology, influence, markets. This isn't one step or one decision. It's a strategy. Long, unpopular, but necessary. So the finale is still open. I don't promise comfort for everyone. I never did. I promise only one thing. It won't be boring. Because when the stakes are high and the players are serious, history isn't written neatly. It's written hard. We'll see how it all ends. But one thing I can already say. If you think this was just an episode, you've underestimated me again.